Yeah, so the first one is instance and static properties and methods. So important terminology that we are going to learn now. So first let us focus on instance properties and instance methods. Then I will teach you static properties as well as static methods also. So first thing is, let us see instance properties and instance methods. What is basically an instance is? Remember, instance means an object. An object can also be called as the instance. When you look at the books, when you look in the books or in websites, so they will use these two names alternatively. Okay, so at some places they will make it as an object. At some places they will represent that as an instance, because object and instance are both are same. Instance properties means the properties which exists in the object are called as the instance properties. For example, if we take this person one object, so once we look at the person one object here, so we can find only two properties are existed. Then these two properties are called instance properties. Instance properties means these properties exist in every object. For example, so let me create one more object here. So totally I created two objects. This is person2, and let me print the person2 also to the console. And now we can see two objects I created of person type. There we can see these two properties existed in every object with different values. That means the properties which are part of the object are called as the instance properties because they belongs to the object. How to add such instance properties means it is very simple. Go to the constructor and write the properties here. They are called as the instance properties. So here, if I want to add some more instance properties, you need to write them inside of the constructor. They can be called as the instance properties. So why they are called as instance properties means these properties exist in every object. So as of now, I have added these two. For example, if I have added some more property like something example is equal to hi. Let me save this. Now we can see each object has name, age, and example. Okay, for this example, I have not received any value during instantiation. Just I have taken the value directly just for the demonstration. And one more thing is the way of creating object that can also be called as instantiation. Instantiation, nothing but creating object. So this is all terminology, guys. One should have strong command on the terminology. When you attend for the interviews or when you are reading the documentation, so terminology is really very, very important. If you do not understand the terminology, you cannot get the complete knowledge what you are looking for. Instantiation. So instance means object. Instantiation means the process of creating an object. Instance properties means the properties which we added to the constructor are called as the instance properties. So the instance properties exist in each object of that type. Okay, that is clear. Next one is instance methods. Instance properties concept is clear. Now let's go for instance methods. Instance method means the methods which can access and work on the objects. Okay, the methods which can access the properties of the object and process the data. Such methods are called as instance methods. For example, I have taken a method something like test here. Some test method I have taken here. Now, what is the purpose of the test method here? The test method just for I have made it as the test. For example, let me make it as get summary. For example, if anyone want to get the summary of this person, so they are going to call this method. So then what it will do, it will give the name and age. So now let me write the name. So let me write colon comma name, this dot name comma next age comma this dot age. So now if anyone want to get the summary of the person, they can call this method. What this method is doing here, it is extracting the values from the current object. For example, if I call these properties on the particular, for example, person1 dot get summary. So now you can see it is giving the summary of the first person whose name is Ravi, age is 21. In the same way, if you want to get the summary of person 2, I can call the get summary method on it. I will get the summary in this way. Okay, so the methods which can access the properties of an object are called as the instance methods. Here, what get summary method is doing? So when I call get summary method on the person 1 object, and one more important thing is these instance methods should be called on the instance. That's why they're calling as the instance methods. So we can write comment here. This is called as instance method. So why it is instance method means this method can be called on the instance. So this method will go to the instance and get the properties from that instance. For example, in the line number 20, I have called get summary method on person 1 object. So what get summary method is doing? It is taking the name and age. This dot name means current object, name from the current object, which is current object in this situation. So this method is called on person 1. Then this dot name means the name of the person 1 as well as age of the person 1. Next, in the line number 24, again I call the get summary method on person 2. What does it mean? So this get summary method will extract values from the object person 2, so that then this refers to the current object person 2. When I call on person 1 is the current object. If I call the method on person 2 is the current object. This always refers to the current object. So this is called as the instance method, and anytime if you want to call the instance method, this is the syntax we have to follow. Call instance method. Instance methods can be called on the object. Okay, without object, if you try to call, you will get the error. For example, let me try to call this without instance and see what happened here. So now you are getting an error, get summary is not defined at the line number 27. The reason is it is not a function. If it is a function, it will work out, but it is a method. And which type of method it is? Instance method. How to call the instance methods on the instance? See here, person 1 dot get summary, that is right approach. Person 2 dot get summary or person 3 dot get summary. In that way, we have to call the instance methods. Now we are clear with instance properties and instance methods. So instance properties means the properties that are part of every object are called as the instance properties, and the methods which can process the data of an instance are called as the instance methods, and the way of calling instance methods is on an object. So hence instance properties and instance methods concept is completed. The second one is static properties and static methods. First of all, static properties and static methods, they do not belong to object. Okay, so the static properties and methods, they do not belong to object. They belongs to class or they belongs to constructor. So whatever the properties and methods that belongs to the constructor, they are called as static properties and static methods, and they are not part of any object. For example, let's come here. I want to add some instance static property. Some static property here. How to add the static properties? So that you have to write the name of the class, name of the constructor here, that is person dot. You can write whatever the static property that you want to add. For example, here I want to add some college name here. College name is equal to VNR. Once you observe this here, okay, so this property is not added to the object. See here, name property added to current object, age property added to current object. But if you take this college name property, it is not added to current object like this dot college name. Instead of that, I am adding this property to the constructor directly. That means you should write the name of the constructor and the property and its value. Now let me save and see here. You can find these objects contains only instance properties, but not the static properties. See here. So this college name is not part of any object because, as I said, static properties associated with the constructor, not with any object individually. That's why in an object we can find only instance properties and static properties are not available. Okay, then if I want to get the static properties, how can we do that? So get static property. So as I said, these static properties are associated with the constructor. So if you want to access them, you have to use the reference of the constructor person dot. So here I can write college name. Save it. You can get the college name as VNR. Of course, it's not VRN, it's VNR. Save it now. You can see here it's VNR. So now you can find the difference between now instance methods and static methods. For example, if you want to get the instance property, if you want to get the instance property, how can I do that? So person one. So here I can write person one dot name. Now you can see it returns the name Ravi here. So if you want to access any instance property, you need to write the instance here, that is an object dot property. But if you want to get the static properties, you should not use the instance references, because instance properties are only existed with the instance. Static properties that we are added to the constructor directly. So to access the such kind of static properties, we have to use the class constructor name only in this way, constructor dot the property. So in some special situations, these static properties are also useful to us. For example, in this case, so the college name is common. So at that time, you can make it as the static property. Next, static method. Static method means just like same, which is not going to work with the particular instances. It is not going to work with the data of the instances. It can work with some class-based, the component-based operations. It is going to work with the constructor-based operations, not on individual objects. For example, if I take the get summary, what it is doing, it is interacting with the current object and accessing values from the object, and you can write whatever the business logic you write inside here you want. But when you come to the static methods, the purpose of static methods is totally different. What's the purpose of the static method means? They are not used to process the data of the object. They are used to write some special functionality at the constructor level, just like comparing objects or creating new copies of the objects. So such kind of special operations are there. We are going to experience many static methods in future here in our course. Today also we are going to see some static methods. Okay, so that is the purpose of the static method. And if you want to add the static method, so you should not add this to the prototype. Directly add that static method to the constructor in this way, just like how we are adding the static properties to the constructor, add the static methods also to the constructor. For example, if I have taken some static text, that is the name of the method, and the method is as usually the same. Now it is the static method. So how to call the static methods? It's very simple. Call static method. If you want to call the static method, let me try with person one dot. So test is static test. Let's see what happened now. You'll get an error here. Person one dot static test is not a function. Why? Because if I call this method on the object, it will check whether it is a static method or instance method. If it is instance method, it is allowed to work on it. For example, here, if I want to, here I have called the static method, call instance method. So here when I call the instance method, it worked. But here when I call the static method on the instance, it is giving the error. The reason is only instance methods can be called on the objects, whereas the static methods are not available to the objects. They can be called only on the constructor. That means if I want to call the static methods, I have to do like this. Now it is working. Static of person, for example, static of person, it's working. Okay, so this is the way that we can write the instance properties, instance methods, as well as static properties and static methods. We are going to work with a lot of static methods in JavaScript. Okay, because the purpose of the static method is not to process data of the object. They can perform some constructor level operations, just like, as I said, creating copies to the objects. Okay, and assigning the object to another new object, or comparing objects. For such kind of special constructor level operations, so these static methods are useful. Hope you are clear with the concept of these static properties methods as well as instance methods and properties. Ask me any questions if you have regarding these two topics. The next concept that we are going to discuss is ECMAScript, ECMA script, ECMAScript. So generally people will ask you, hey, did you learn ECMAScript? Remember, ECMAScript is the official name for the JavaScript. Most of the people feel that ECMAScript is different, JavaScript is different. Remember, JavaScript is generic name, ECMAScript is the standard name for the JavaScript. If people asking you about ECMAScript means they are asking you about JavaScript. That means currently you are learning JavaScript as well as ECMAScript also. So what is this ECMAScript basically? Why the JavaScript is named as ECMAScript? What is ECMA stands for? Remember, so ECMA, you can go to the official website called ecmainternational.org here. Actually, it is a European Computers Manufacturers Association. ECMA stands for. E stands for European Computer Manufacturers Association, ECMA International. Okay, so what is this ECMA? It provides standards to the programming languages. Why? Because if you take any product, it should have some standards. So this ECMA is such a company which can provide standards to the programming languages. So it provides standards to JavaScript, C#, Dart language. So for these three popular languages, the ECMA has provided the standards. That's why JavaScript can also be called as the ECMAScript. And guys, we know JavaScript was released in 1995. Later, so many new versions are released, and all these versions are called as ECMAScript versions. So when you move down, here we can find so the date when the versions was released. So the current version of the JavaScript is 12th version, which was released in June 2021. So that is the 12th version. We can call it as ES12. ES12 means ECMAScript 12. In short, we can call it as ES12. That is the latest version. So in 2020, so ES11 version was released. This knowledge is really essential. So the important thing is ES6 version was released in 2015, which is the major version among all other versions of the JavaScript till now. So many tremendous changes were introduced in the ES6 version. That's why even in the interview or somewhere else, people will heavily focus on ES6. ES6 means ES1, ES2, ES3 like that, up to ES12 versions are there in JavaScript. But why the people are heavily focused on ES6 basically? ES6 means ECMAScript 6 version, which is released in 2015. Okay, so this version actually contains extraordinary changes. So many new features are added. So such kind of features are not added to the remaining versions. So from there onwards, each version contains a limited new features. But when compared with the previous versions, ECMAScript 6 version contains a lot of changes. So many new features are added. So it's a revolution in the web development actually. That's why so ES6 is really very, very important. Everyone should know what are the features are available in ES6. Even if you are not aware of the features of the remaining versions, it's not a big deal. Everyone should have strong knowledge of ECMAScript 6 version. So we are going to focus on ECMAScript 6 features also in our course. Okay, so many new changes are added here. So whenever I'm explaining such kind of feature, so I will teach you, so is it belongs to ES6 or not? Okay, that's called as ES6 and it is released in 2015. Its full name is ECMAScript 6th version. In short, we can also call it as ES6. E stands for ECMA, S stands for script, and 6 is the version name. So many new features were added in this version. We are going to see all such kind of versions. Hope you are clear with the difference between ECMAScript and JavaScript. See here, so this standard defines ECMAScript 2022 general purpose programming language. And also at your free time, have a look on it. It contains a beautiful information and it releases a new PDF file regarding each version. So first version was released in 1997, second version 1998, and so on. The latest version is ECMAScript 12, which was released in 2021. And of course, in this year, the ES13 is not released yet. Okay, it may release very soon here. This is about ECMAScript basically. So what are the such kind of great changes really offered in the ECMAScript 6 version? The first one is class. It's very important. So class is a simplest version to write the constructors. For example, if you take any object-oriented programming languages, if you are from any C++ or Java background, when you start learning either C++ or Java, you start writing the classes directly. What is class basically? Class is same as constructor in JavaScript, which can be used to create the types. For example, if you look at this constructor, what is the purpose of creating constructors? So the constructors are used to create a type. Once the type is ready, you can create as many objects as you can that belongs to the same type. That is the way that we can write these constructors. Now, but when you look at this constructor, so you will get the feel like a function. It is almost very similar to function with some changes. But when you come for the other programming languages, other object-oriented programming languages like C++ and Java, so if you want to create such kind of types, they offer classes. So C++ have classes, okay, C# have classes, Java has classes. All object-oriented programming languages except JavaScript use classes to create such kind of types. But in JavaScript, before 2015, class concept was not there. If you want to create our own type, so we have to write the constructor. So for creating person type, we created the person constructor. To create the student type, we write the student constructor. And if you want to add the methods, we need to write some complex syntax like this, prototypes, etc., etc. But if you want to write the same kind of code in your C++ or Java, it is quite easy than this. There we no need to discuss about prototypes, okay, as well as all these kind of unwanted things. It is quite easy. So by observing this difference, finally they have introduced the class concept in ES6 version, that is in 2015 version, ECMAScript 6 version. So from there onwards, if you want to create your type, you no need to write this kind of code so that you can reuse the classes directly. So now let me show you an example here for your better understanding. So now I would like to take this, create a new file here. So now I have taken the constructor. Let me connect this to my JavaScript here. Okay, so constructor I have taken. So now if you want to write the same by using the latest syntax introduced in ECMAScript 6, ES6 version, you can do the same by using the class. No need to write the constructors. In place of the constructor functions, you can write the class. Class syntax is very simple when compared with the constructor. Let me show you the difference between these two. That's why I have taken the same constructor here, and I'm going to write the class representation of this constructor so that you can compare them here for better understanding. If you want to write the such kind of type, if you want to create a type person, we can write the class keyword. And after the class keyword, you're going to write the name of the constructor or name of the class. That means finally name of the type that you are trying to create. Here I'm trying to create a type of person so that I can take it as name as person. So now the person name already I have used here so that I can name it as person1, for example. So syntax is class keyword. After that, you can write the name of the type and you can write pair of braces directly because it is not a function. So it is not a function. That's why you should not keep something like this. That is an error. It is a class. It is not a function. So what you have to write inside of the, so you can write the instance properties, instance methods, static properties, static methods. You can write everything inside of the pair of braces, everything inside of this. It's quite easy actually. Okay, so now first thing is we have to write a constructor inside of this as a method. It is a constructor function. We are going to write a constructor here. So constructor is also a method, but the purpose is different. So if you want to write the, every class should have a special method whose name is constructor only. So when you type CON, automatically it will give you the name called constructor. Remember, if you are writing some other methods, you can choose the name whatever you want. For example, in this case, I have taken get summary or some whatever the name meaningfully. But when you're writing a special method in the class, its name should be constructor always. If you use a different name here, you will get the error. This is the predefined method. So you have to use the same name. And the purpose of this constructor method is to construct an object. So here what I'm going to write, so you can write the same object initialization logic here itself. Okay, so now it is ready. And if you want to write the method, you can write the method directly here. Okay, so you can write the method directly. So now the method is also existed here. Now let us see, I want to create an object for this. Creating object is same, there is no difference. Whether it is constructor or class, creating object is giving the same syntax. Let P1 is equal to new person 1 here, and the name is Kiran and age is 20. And let me print this object here like P1, save it, and you can see person 1 object is created. So name is Kiran, age 20, get summary, the function is added to this one. So now here I can write the methods in this way. Okay, so this is the way to write methods in this one. Okay, you should not use the function keyword. When you are writing a method inside of the class, you should not use the function keyword. So you have to write the method name and the rest of the story as usually. So it is very similar to function except function keyword. Generally, we can write the function keyword, but when you are writing the method, you should remove the function keyword here. Now the surprising thing is, when I print this object, you can see this object contains name and age only. This method won't be added to the object. So let us expand this object and expand the prototype. There you can see the get summary method here. That means if you want to add the methods to the constructor, we have to add them to the prototype in this way, person.prototype. Something. But when you come to the class, you no need to do all such kind of things. Just write the method directly in the class. All the methods will be added to the prototype of that class automatically. You no need to write any prototype or something else. And the next one is this is instance method. And if you want to write the static methods, for example, it's quite simple. So just you can use the static keyword before it and write the method as usually. So test static. Okay, so this is static method. So just we can write the static keyword before the name of the method, then it will be considered as the static method. But if you want to add the same kind of static methods, we have to write the person 1 dot something. But here, see guys, everything I am writing within the class. This is the opening braces and this is the closing braces, and between them I am writing all this stuff here. So these all are the methods, instance methods and static methods. But the first one is a special method that is mandatory. Of course, whether you write an instance method or static method, that's your choice. And how many instance methods and static methods that you are going to write is also your choice. But one is not your choice, that is constructor, it is mandatory. If you do not write the constructor, so the object cannot be constructed. For example, let me comment this here and see what happened. Save it. You can see that object is empty. Object is created. By why it is not constructed? Because no one is there to construct this object. So now let me remove this comments here, save and see here. Now the object is constructed. That means the purpose of the constructor method is to construct an object. And the remaining purpose, the instance method, is to process the data of the object, and static methods are used to perform the class level operations. So this is the way that we can write static methods. Of course, and calling static method is also same thing here. So person 1 dot, the name of the method is test static. Of course, it works as usually. So it's not returning anything. So let me call it in this way. Okay, so creating object is same, calling instance methods, static methods, all the concepts are same. The only difference is syntax. So let's compare this syntax and this syntax, which is easy here. So the class syntax is simple when compared with the constructor, because writing constructor is okay, but adding something to the prototype means again we need to write some complex syntax like a prototype dot something. But when you come to the class, so you can write the methods, okay, static methods, properties, all inside of this class directly. So the methods will be added to the prototype automatically. So that's why here, if I expand this object, you can see name and Kiran, but in the prototype of the object, you can find the get summary method here. Now, the final conclusion is, sir, if class is really that much easy, so why we have wasted almost 1.5 hours time to discuss about constructors? Because if you open C++ programs, you can see only classes. If you open any Java program, you can see these classes. And in future, if you want to learn either C++ or Java or any other object-oriented programming languages, so you are going to write classes exactly in the same way. So classes are everywhere in every object or in object-oriented programming languages. But these constructors are not existed in other object-oriented programming languages. They were only into the JavaScript. That's why the people who came from object-oriented programming background, they may not feel convenient to work with these prototypes, etc., because they feel a lot of convenience to write the classes or to create the types in this way. That's why from today onwards, we are going to use the class syntax only instead of this constructor. Now, answer to the question, why we have wasted 1.5 hours time to write this. Remember, class is just a sugar coating. It is just a sugar coating for the constructor function. If you do not understand prototypes, constructor, etc., so you cannot get anything about this class. For example, if you look at this class, so you don't know what is prototype basically. What is the use of prototype? How can you implement the prototypal chain? You cannot get all this information because in the class syntax, we won't use any term like prototype, etc., etc. That's why everyone should learn constructors and prototypes first of all. After learning this, then they can come to the class syntax. So before learning the class syntax, one should have the strong knowledge of these constructors and prototypes. So with that knowledge, they can understand the class. That's why class is just a wrapper. It is just a sugar coating for the constructor, and it is not a totally new kind of thing at all. But the developers feel more convenient to create types using classes instead of using things. So this class syntax is introduced in ES6 version. Before ES6, that means before 2015, if any developer want to create a type, definitely they should have written these kind of constructors only. But from 2015 onwards, if you want to create such a type, no need to go for such complexities. You can simplify that by using the class syntax itself. And that's the way to write the classes and the comparison. Hope you are clear with the class syntax and the constructor function and the difference between these two practically. And one more important thing I'm going to teach you, setting the prototype is also very easy here. For example, I said that if I take any object, so its prototype is nothing but the root constructor, that is object. By default, every object will contain its prototype as the root constructor whose name is object with capital O. If you want to set a different prototype, then I have to write so person dot prototype dot, such syntax we have taken in the previous session. For example, if you look at this program, now I want to set a prototype. I think I removed the code here. In the last section, we have discussed how to set the prototype of some other to the current one. But here, setting the prototype is quite easy. No need to write such kind of complex things. So now what I will do is, let's remove all this code. I'm going to create a prototypal chain, just like the example what I have taken. For example, let's go to this previous example, guys. So take this example. We already implemented this example using constructor functions in previous session. Now I'm going to implement it again by using class syntax. Then you can see how easy it is in class syntax to create such prototypal chain when compared with the constructor functions. So here, what is the relationship? So person is the parent and student is the child. The relationship is student is a person. Whatever the properties a person have, all will be inherited to the student automatically. That is called as the prototypal chain. And if you take any constructor, by default, it contains object as its root prototype, and object's prototype is null. This discussion was already completed. Now I'm going to repeat the same example by using this. So now let's create the person type. I need to create the person type. Next one is student type. So to create the type, up to now we used the constructor, but here I'm going to write the class syntax because it is quite easy. And let me create the student type. So class student here. That's it. As of now, these two are two independent classes and no relationship is existed. Okay, but we know the fact student is a person. That means the person can have some common features like, so let me write the constructor. So every person have a name, he can have the age, he can have some mobile number. So these are the common features of every person, right? So this dot name is equal to name, this dot age is equal to age, this dot mobile number is equal to mobile number. Okay, so now the particular class type, person type is ready. If you take the student, student also will have the same properties. Name, age, mobile number are common for the student. Along with what are the other properties are existed for the student, some properties like course, marks, etc. Okay, those are some different properties. Along with those special properties, these are common properties for a student. So the relationship is student is a person. How did we set the prototype? By using the constructors. So at that time we write something like this. So student dot prototype is equal to person. So such kind of syntax we write to set the prototype. But when you come to the class syntax, it is really very cool. So we can write the student and the keyword extends and the parent class called person. So now person is an independent class because it is not as an extension. But when you take the student, we are considering the student is an extension of the person. What does it mean, extension? Whatever the properties a person have, all properties will come to the student automatically. That's why we can call student is an extension. So at that time, you can write it in this way as student class name after that extends keyword and here. So now after extends keyword, whatever you write, that can be called as the parent. Here person is the parent class, student is the child class. Now internally, so the person prototype is assigned to the student. We no need to write the syntax like student dot prototype is equal to, no such kind of prototype kind of syntaxes we need to write. Just write extends person, all properties of the person will come to the student. So now let me create an object for the student. Create student, let std is equal to new student here. Okay, now a student object is created. Let me print the student object here. Of course, student object is empty, I have not taken. And you can see the student object contains name, age, mobile number. Of course, they contains undefined because I have not supplied any data during objects creation. That's no problem. But let us see what is the prototype of the student. Expand this. Now you can see the prototype of the student is person. And I want to see the person prototype. Expand this. You can see the person prototype is an object. Is it exactly same as this relationship or not? So student's prototype is person. Person prototype is by default root constructor. Here also we can see the same. So when I open the student prototype, so its prototype is person because student is the person. When we expand the person prototype, you can see it is an object. So this is the way that we can write. Okay, so now let us initialize values to this one. As usually, here also we have to take a constructor because constructor is mandatory method for every class because it is used to construct. Actually, we have created the constructor, but it contains values undefined. So now which values I should pass? And every student contains the name, age, and some course, for example. So that I have to pass the name, age, and course. Okay, 3 details I have passed. Let me save it. Okay, but you cannot find any difference here. Save it. Still, it is showing some error. So some reference error, must call super constructor in derived class before accessing this in returning from the derived constructor. Of course, you may not understand what is this technical error information here, but I will teach you what happened here. So when the student is a person, so the student is going to have only the course details. That means here I'm going to write this dot course is equal to course. That's it. Okay, so student is going to have only course as the special property, and he is getting all the remaining properties from the parent. Who is parent here? Person. What properties he will get from the parent? Name, age, mobile number. That's why he has received name, age, as well as mobile number also. Here I should pass the next argument, some mobile number. Okay, mobile number also. Once he receives the values, what the student has to do, he should supply these three values to its parent, because so the parent is going to initialize them. So the student is responsible only to acquire the special property, that is course, whereas the remaining common properties will be taken care by the parent. That's why how can we pass values to the parent? Pass arguments to parent. Who is parent of the student here? So the parent of the student is person. So now we need to pass these three values, because this child student need only the course. That's why he has used the course details, and he need to forward these values to its parent. So how can we do that? For that purpose, there is a special method called super. Super is the method which can be used to call superclass constructor. Superclass means it is nothing but the parent class. We can call it as either base class or superclass or parent class. All are synonyms. So super is the keyword. When you write like this, it will call the superclass constructor. That means this constructor has called. But this constructor needs these three values. So it already received these three values. So let it forward these values to its parent. Now let me save this. Now the object is created successfully. Name Ravi, age 21, mobile number, and the course BTech. Now the student is having a special property called course, and he's getting all the remaining properties that are provided by its person, its parent, that is nothing but the person. So in this way, we can create any kind of things. Okay, so this is called as inheritance. So to create such kind of relationship, we can use extends keyword. For example, if you want to have something like employee, create employee type. Okay, so create employee type. That means first of all, we are going to write create employee. Okay, now employee is also a person. Employee is also a person. We know that. That means whatever the properties a person have, like name, age, mobile number, employee also will have the same. In addition to that, he can have some special properties like a name of working company, designation, salary, etc. That's why employee is a person. Then we are going to write extends person. That means automatically he will get all the properties of this parent called person, and we can write its own properties in this way exactly. Okay, so now for example, here if I want to have some special properties, let me copy paste this here. Name, mobile number, etc. These are common, so he may have some designation. So let's write this designation is equal to designation, and the rest of the story are same. Now let me create the employee object. EMP is equal to new employee. So the first one is name of the employee, age of the employee, mobile number of the employee, and finally we have to give the designation, that is full stack developer. Okay, so now let us see here. Okay, now the second object is also ready. Let me print it to the console and check. Now see here, employee object also having name, age, mobile number, mobile number. These are the common properties, and he has his own property called designation. In the same way, student also have the common properties like name, age, mobile number, etc., and his own property called as course. So this is called as reusability. That means instead of writing the same properties in both student and employee, keep all such kind of common properties in the parent class like this. Once you keep the common properties in the parent class, then the child is going to take care of its special properties only. Just like how student is taking care of only course and employee is taking care of only designation, they no need to bother about the common properties. Once they receive the properties, they can simply supply the values to the parent. Parent will take care of constructing the object with common values like name, age, mobile number, etc. So here the relationship is created. Student is a person, employee is a person. So in your real world applications also, when you have such kind of relationship, you can simplify that process by using this extends keyword. Extends keyword automatically extends or inherits all properties of the parent class to the child automatically. Any questions? So here, all the properties of the parent can be accessible by the child. For example, if I write some method here, I'm writing a method like get details. So get details is the method I have taken here. So which is going to print the details like name. Okay. This dot name, comma, age, comma, this dot age. For example, let me print these two. Now get details is the method which is available in the parent. Now whatever the parent has, they are available to the children. That means the student can call this method. For example, on the student object std, I can call the get details method. You can see it prints the details. So the details of the employee here. In the same way, employee also can call the method called get details. Okay. This, yeah. So sorry, yeah. So here get details. I can see here these employee details are available. That means what happened here, if I call get details method on the student object, first it will go to the student class and search for the get details method. It's come to the student class. So is there any get details method here? No. If it is not available in the current class, then what it will do, it will look into its prototype. So which is prototype of the student class here? Person. Then it will go to the person and search. Yes, it is there. So those details are available here. So one more doubt is here. Taking person type as parent, why should we provide name, age, mobile number? In student only, we can provide designation. See guys, here we need to understand with some general knowledge actually. So the general knowledge is, what is person? Person means it's a generic thing. It is person, generic one. He may be a student, he may be literate, he may be illiterate, he may be an employee, he may be the manager. All belongs to persons only. What is the difference between person and student? First of all, student is a person. You are a person, I am also a person. But your specialty is you are a student. My specialty is I am an instructor. But finally we are persons. That means instructor is a person, student is a person, your professor is a person, your principal is a person. All are persons only. But even though these all are persons, they have some common properties and some different properties. If you take your yourself and some other employee, what are the features you can find the difference? First, identify the common. So whether you are a student or a lecturer or a principal, whatever it may be, you all have the names. You all have some ages. You all have some mobile numbers. You all have some address. These all are the common properties irrespective of your specialty. But what is your special property here? As the student, you are doing some course. You got some marks, you got an aggregate. These details available with student. If you take the principal, he has some other additional things like how to manage the details of the college and how to take care of departments, etc. Those details are not available to you because those responsibilities will be taken care by the principal. If we take the developer, so the developer contains what projects he is currently working with, what skills he is, in which company he is working with. That means common properties are there, special properties are there. So in this example, student have a special property like course along with name, age, mobile number. Employee is also a person who have the designation as the special property along with name, age, mobile number. If inheritance concept is not there, then I have to copy paste all these properties in both student class as well as employee class. But I have simplified that by writing only once here, and I have reused it as many times as I need in this way. Hope you are clear with this concept. Gautam. Yeah, so let us see the next one here. The next concept that we are going to discuss is error handling. And remember guys, so you might have a lot of doubts in your mind regarding class syntax and everything. Definitely you have to work on it. After completion of the session, you need to write at least some 10 classes of your own. And you need to print the object and expand the object. And also you need to create at least 5 to 7 programs by taking different use cases to implement inheritance. Only through practice you will get the knowledge. Here I am just introducing the concept to you. Okay, just with introduction, just by listening to the session, you may not become master in the classes, inheritance, etc. within just 1 hour. So it need at least 7 days practice to understand the concept of classes and inheritance, etc. That's why every day you have to write 2 or 3 programs by your own, apart from these assignments. So every day write 2 or 3 classes. So many examples around you: fan class, person class, student class, car class, bike class, all are classes only, types, and create different types and identify the difference between car and the special car. For example, if we take the car and automatic car, for example, if we take these two, so both have so many common features. So 4 wheels, okay, seats, steering, these all are the common properties, color, engine, etc. But what is the difference between normal manual transmission and auto transmission? In the auto transmission is different, which is not available with manual, and manual is not available with auto. Except these two, remaining of properties are almost the same. Then you can write car as the parent class and the special class of the auto transmission as the child class, and reuse all properties of the car. Like that, you have to observe your surroundings and get the examples from the reality. Don't search for the examples also in Google. So many things are around you, and you and your parent, take that example, take the properties of your parent, and you are getting all those things by your own, and you need to gain your own features like your own qualification, your own job, because anyhow the properties of the parent will come to you automatically. Like that, you have to connect the technology with the real world scenarios. If you consider the technology as a separate subject, you won't get any grip on the subject even after 2 years of practice. We have to connect the technology with the real world examples only. Then we are understanding the technology, then we will get the ability to use this technology to solve the real world problems. Why you are learning this JavaScript here, or why you learn any programming language? Not to gain marks in your academics and not to write some sample programs. You have to solve so many real world problems. So to solve the real world problems, you are using the technology. If you take the PhonePe is solving so many real world problems. We no need to go for the current office to pay the current bill. We no need to go for the LIC department to pay the EMIs, etc. So some 10 years or 15 years before, what was the situation? So that if you want to pay the power bill, you need to go and stand in the queue for hours, and you will face a lot of issue with change and etc. And premium, LIC premium, you need to go for the LIC office and you have to wait there. You need to contact some persons and you need to pay. But now the PhonePe app resolved all those problems. Now you are doing all these things just with mobile without going to any specific office. That means after learning a technology, they created the PhonePe application. Like that, learning a technology's ultimate purpose is to solve real world problems. Even after learning the technology, if you could not solve even a simple problem of the real life, whatever you learned up to now is really waste. It's waste of energy. What you will gain just by learning classes, objects, etc. What is the use of learning all these things without learning how to use them to solve real world problems? If you take a mechanic, he should be able to repair whatever the problem it is of a particular car. If you know only theory about what is screwdriver and what's the difference between screwdriver and cutting plier, if you can draw the pictures of cutting pliers, screwdrivers, etc., wrenches, etc., but you don't know how to use them, how can be called as the mechanic? And what is the use of that person by having all the knowledge of all these tools? He should know where to use this wrench, where to use the cutting plier, where to use the screwdriver, and what is the functionality of the engine, what problem is occurred, how to fix it. Without having all this knowledge, if you have only theoretical knowledge about all these tools, what is the use of that? It's totally waste of time or not? As the developers, you also need to think in such a way. Don't take this as a separate technical concepts. Try to connect these features, what I'm teaching you, with your real world things that are happening around you. That's why every day, for every feature, I am connecting this with some real world example. So don't consider only that example. So based on that knowledge, try to get your own example. So many things are there around you. The only thing is just close your eyes and think about the situations happening around you. Automatically, you will get so many real world examples, and try to write programs for 1 or 2 of them at least. Then you will become master in the technology. No one can stop you. Yeah. So the next thing is error handling. So important and interesting that we are going to see. So now I'm going to create a separate file to discuss the error handling. So the first thing is, what is an error and why should we handle the error? What happened if we do not handle the error? These are the common problems. So what I will do is, all of you listen to this carefully. I'm writing statement 1. Okay, statement 1 I have taken here. And I've taken some good number of statements here. Statement number 2, statement 3, statement 4. Once I save this program, we can see the output. Now you can see, whenever we have executed a program, the program will execute from first line to last line in the order. So whatever the order I have taken the instructions, they will be executed in the same order. Very good. So now what I want to do is, so if I write something like this, let a is equal to 10, and I want to print the value of a. A is comma a. Now you can see the a value is 10. So our program has no errors. Everything is perfect. For example, let's remove this line, and I'm trying to print some value. That means I have not declared any value. That means the a value is not in my memory, stack memory, but I'm trying to print the value. Is it an error or not? If you want to get something which is not in the memory, it is an error. Let me save this program. You can see the first 4 lines has executed successfully, but the last line throws an error. That name of the error is reference error, and the reason is a is not defined. Very good. So now what I will do is, let me keep this statement as the third statement here. Save this. Now we can find statement 1 executed, statement 2 executed. Why these two are executed successfully? Because there is no error in either statement 1 and statement number 2. But when we come to the statement number 3, error is occurred. So it has printed the error message here. Then why the statement 4 and 5 have not executed here? So now let me keep it as the second statement, and you can see only statement 1 executed. Later some error is occurred, and then it printed the reason for the error, and the rest of the program has not executed. So based on this example, the final conclusion is, in our JavaScript program, when an error is occurred, the remaining program after the error won't go for execution. That's it. If an error is occurred, the remaining program after that error won't be executed by the JavaScript. Here we have seen the practical verification also. Now the statement number 1, in this case no error, it executed. Statement number 2, an error is there, so it prints the error message. Then why it is not printing the remaining? Because there is no error in the remaining 3 statements here. The 3 statements are correct. There is no error here. But why it is not executing? So what is happening in JavaScript actually? Whenever the error is occurred, JavaScript immediately stops the program's execution. Whenever the error is occurred, JavaScript stops the program's execution. When the program's execution has stopped, so you may have so many important things to be executed in your program. Just because of one error, why the rest of the program need to suffer? Because this error is, I'm trying to print some value which is not in the memory. That is the reason for this error. Okay, fine. But what is the problem with the remaining statements? If I write some 1000 lines here, the remaining 1000 lines won't execute. It may contain so many beautiful logic, very important logic. No errors are there, but still they won't come for execution. So what is the default behavior of the JavaScript regarding errors? JavaScript will execute the programs if no errors are there. But if an error is occurred, it will print the reason for the error and aborts the program's execution. Abort means stopping abnormally. It abnormally stops the program's execution. Is it a dangerous behavior or not? Definitely, it can be considered as a dangerous behavior. Why? Because if error is occurred because of this statement, why the remaining statements should suffer? They are not related with A. they are not related with this error. They have their own logic. So the syntaxes are perfect. Everything is fine. But why it is not even executed by the JavaScript? The default nature is when an error is occurred, automatically, so the JavaScript will print the reason for the error and abnormally terminates the program's execution. So for example, if you do not take care of the errors, what happened? Because of some simple errors, your entire application will be crashed. Will you accept that? You should not. So what can we do here? So first of all, we need to write error-free code, sir. Okay, I am appreciating you if you have such thoughts. But remember, errors are common. Definitely, even you take a lot of care, unexpectedly some error can be occurred. You may not stop it. You may not even imagine that error, but unexpectedly some error is occurred. When you run the program for 10 times, it executed successfully. At the 11th time, some unexpected error is occurred and the program's execution has stopped abnormally. How can you fix that situation? Because you verify the program, everything is fine, but because of the run, some minute error has occurred. As the result, the entire program's execution has stopped. So you are sincerely trying to fix all the errors, but without your knowledge, some unexpected errors also can be occurred. What can you do with that? Yes. So let's take a real world example. If it is raining, for example, you want to go to college, it is raining. Generally what we will do? We will go back to the home and you can sleep. That is generally happening. But if it's an exam, for example, if it's an examination, still it is raining, you cannot stop raining. It's not in your control. You sincerely try to stop by taking prayers, etc., etc. Unfortunately, it won't work out, for example, and it's still raining. Definitely, you need to attend for the examination. What you have to do, you can't control the rainfall, but you can protect yourself by an umbrella. In the same way, it's a sunny day and a lot of heat actually, but you don't have the facility to adjust the temperature of the sun. But you can handle the situation with the AC. So you can take on AC in your room and you can adjust the temperature as per your convenience. That means in our real world situation, so many things are there which we cannot control. At that time, what we have to do, we should handle them. So that the final thing is you cannot control everything, even errors also. Then if you are not able to control everything, what you have to do, at least you have to handle the error. If you are not able to identify and control the error as a human being, we may have some limitations. We are not creators here. We are not God here, right? So that we may have some mistakes in our application, definitely. So you may not identify that as a mistake until it moves to the production. Unfortunately, some error is occurred. What can you do? You can't stop it. Instead of that, you have to handle that. That is called as error handling. So correcting error is different, handling error is different. Correcting error in the sense you can able to stop the rain and you can able to adjust the temperature of the sun. That is called as correcting. Handling means use an umbrella to protect yourself from the rainfall and use the AC to protect yourself from the overheat. So this is the way to handle and correct. Hope you find the difference between handling and correcting. Many things you can correct, but some things you have to handle, you may not correct because they may not be in your control. So what is the way to handle errors here? Of course, this is an error I created intentionally. You can simply correct this error by creating the variable like this. Now error is fixed and everything is fine. This is the error I created here. So now let us assume I am not able to fix this error. This is not only printing some value of a, any error can be occurred. This is just an example of the error. Simple example I have taken. So many errors can be occurred. If you are not able to identify and fix the error, what you have to do? You should at least handle the error. What is the benefit of handling the error? Which is best here, correcting error or handling error? If it is possible, correct the error. If it is not possible, at least handle the error. What is the use of handling error? Yes. If you handle the error, it will go for the remaining program's execution as usually. If you do not handle the error, the program will terminate abnormally where the error is occurred. But if you can handle the error, then the program will go for remaining program also goes execution successfully without any failure. That's why if you want to keep your program in the safe state, definitely you should have the strong knowledge of error handling. So how can we handle errors in JavaScript? To handle errors in JavaScript, we are going to use try-catch statements. We're going to use try-catch statement. Try-catch statement is used to handle the errors. So you use the same thing in C++, even in Java also try-catch. So how can we use it? So take the try block. Try block means write the try keyword and write the pair of braces. We can call it as the try block. Keep all your suspected code inside of the try block. Keep all your suspected code. Suspected code means you, as a developer, you have to imagine, okay, these lines of code may generate some error in future. As of now, it is fine, but there are some chances to generate some error in future. For example, you have to imagine at least in that way. So then you need to keep all such kind of code inside of the try block. So what try block will do? If an error is occurred, then it will create the error object and throw the error object. When it throw the error object, immediately we need to write the catch method here. Immediately after try, we have to write the catch method. This is the method, so that we have to write like this. What this catch method means, it is going to receive the error object. Whatever the error is occurred here, that error object will be caught by the catch method. So that you have to write the catch method immediately after the try block. You should not write anything between them, because it is a pair. Basically, try is used to identify the error and throw the error. When the error is thrown by the try block, it can be caught by the catch block. Previously, what happened if you do not write the try catch? If error is occurred, that error is received by the JavaScript engine. What JavaScript engine is doing? It is simply printing the reason for the error and terminating the program abnormally. But now you are not giving chance to JavaScript to handle the error. We are handling the error by catching the error within the program itself. So here I am going to write, so error, that error information, I am going to print the error object. That's it, guys. Now let me save this. You can see still the error is occurred because I'm trying to print A. So value of A is not there. So it has printed reference error, A is not defined, everything is fine. But even the error is occurred, you can find the rest of the program executes without any issue. Even the error is occurred. But if you do not write the try catch statement here, if error is occurred, this error is handling by the JavaScript engine and it terminates the program abnormally. But when our program is handling the errors, it is not sending the error object to the JavaScript. It is handling in our application. It caught the error object in my application itself and it can print the reason. Handling means just catching the error object is called as handling. And instead of the catch method, you can just write some information here. You may ask, sir, why the error is not appearing in the red color? Because if it is appearing in the red color, then we can feel it as an error. If it is also like normal thing, it might be a little bit confusing. Don't worry. To print it as an error, on the console object, call the error method. Generally, we have used log method on the console object to print something. But if you want to print the error messages, if you call console.error method instead of console.log, so it will display that in the error kind of representation. Now you can see the beauty of error handling. Now the error is occurred as usually, but you can find the remaining program also executes successfully. So even the error is occurred, your program is in safe side. Everything in your program will be executed with 100% guarantee. Even error is occurred because of error handling mechanism. For example, here, if I write some variable let A is equal to 10. Now, no error will be occurred. The reason is that variable is declared and it is going to print that error. Let me save this. Now you can find no error is available. So how the try statement works? First try block, look at its code. If it has no errors, it will execute and then it will go to the remaining program as usually. Catch method won't execute. When the catch method will be executed means whenever error is thrown by the try block, then only catch method will catch the error and it will handle the error. Catching the object itself is handling error. Hence it is working. Now you no need to worry whether error is occurred or not, your program executes successfully. So the try catch statement can be used in JavaScript to handle the errors. And here let me create the error again. You can see it is displaying the error message like A is not defined. This is message given by the JavaScript, some technical message. Now you can write your own message also. Instead of writing some technical messages, you can write your own message also. So for example, if error is occurred, I can throw the error object. For that purpose, I can use a keyword called throw. So why I'm using the throw keyword means I'm going to create my own error object meaningfully, because the error object written by the JavaScript, it might be little bit difficult to understand for normal people. I want to write this as a simple one. So throw, and error constructor is there in JavaScript, which can be used to create the error objects. It is a constructor, that's why E should be capital. And I'm using the new operator to create the new object for the error class. And here you can supply the message. So variable A is not declared. So some generic statement I have given. Save it. Now you can see error object. On the error object, we can write a message property here. So error A is not defined. Okay. Still it is giving the same message, but we want to write it here. Okay. Okay. Let me comment this. Variable A is not declared. Yeah. Okay. So here I write some statement through some manual error. We can write some condition here. So for example, if some A is not declared here, as of now what happened means, when it try to print the value of a error is occurred, then automatically it will come to the catch block. So here conditionally you can write this catch block, and of course in this case it is not required. So if you want to have some conditionally, then you can create your own error object and you can throw it. Of course it is not mandatory, because the error messages thrown by the this particular try block are almost easy to understand in JavaScript. Okay, but if you want to create your own messages, then you can create the error object and you can throw it by using the throw keyword. Now I am not throwing my own error. Instead of that, I am allowing JavaScript to throw its error here, and it is in this way. So this is the way that you can write the error handling mechanism in your application. So you can write any number of try catch blocks in your application. For example, in this case, you feel some error can be occurred, so you arrange a try catch here. Now in the program later, at some line number 100 to 105, there may be another suspicion of getting some error in future. Then you can write one more try catch block there. Like that, you can write as many try catch statements as you can in the program when you feel something is fishy. Actually, it may generate some error in future. If you feel something like that, immediately you can control that behavior by using this try catch. And most important thing is, so after try and catch, if I write something here, see what happened. Save it. You can see missing catch or finally after try. So that between try and catch, you should not write anything. That's very important. So after try, between try after the try statement, catch statement should be available immediately. That is the way to handle errors in our JavaScript, and we are going to use this error handling mechanism throughout our application development. Do you have any questions on error handling mechanism? You can ask me now.
So,
Yeah, got it.
yes, sir.
See, guys, the next concept that we are going to focus is debugging. See, today only complex concepts that we learned are classes. Okay, writing the class, constructor method, instance method, static methods. So these are the complex concepts we learned on today. And error handling is just a feature we discussed in 2 or 3 minutes. ECMAScript is just introduction of ECMAScript and why JavaScript is called as the ECMAScript. That is a theoretical concept. And a debugging JavaScript program is also not, we are writing something new. Instead of that, we are going to learn how to identify errors in our application easily, how to identify the logical errors in the application easily. And many developers in reality will run their code in debug mode only, because they will write thousands of lines of code. When they write thousands of lines of code, so if some error is occurred, especially logical errors are very dangerous. So that they are expecting some value, but it's giving a different value. How can they check the entire code? It is very hard actually. That's why debugging really helps us to stop the program's execution wherever we need, and it allows us to verify what are the values at that variables at that moment. So really you can enjoy debugging the any application with the help of this debugging. So you can understand the logic of the application, and if any logical errors are there, you can fix them very easily. You are going to get a lot of confidence in your application logic development after learning the debugging. Now I will teach you how to debug JavaScript program, and after the session definitely you can start debugging many applications. Let me start with very simple program and I will teach you how to debug this, and later I will take some complex examples also on today, so that you will get better understanding of debugging any kind of JavaScript application. So now let us take the simple one. I have taken just normal 3 statements. When I execute this program, all executed automatically. Instead of 3 lines, if I take some 3000 lines of code here, same thing will be happen. All will execute from first to last and the result will be printed to the console. But my intention is I want to stop the execution at a particular line. I want to stop the execution at a particular line, and I want to check what is the current status at that line, and I want to allow, I can permission, I can give permission to that. I can permit it to go for the next line. So everything is in my control. Let me show you practically how can I do that. As of now, when I run this program, all the lines have executed. No, my control is not doing anything here. Now I want to debug this. If you want to debug any JavaScript application, so go to the developer tools, click on this. After the console, you can see an option called as sources. Up to now, we working with console only. Today, I'm going to introduce another feature from the developer tools, that is sources. So click on it. So once you click on the sources, so there you can see the complete information in this way. Okay, so in the sources, let me, 1 second. Okay, so now here, yeah. So when you click on the sources, here you can see page. When you click on the page, there you can see the JavaScript files that you have created here, JS folder and all. And it is 11.js. Expand here and you can click on the 11.js. You can see the same program here. Okay, so all of you already in the console. Now you can go to the sources. If you want to debug your application, you need to go to the sources tab. When you go to the sources tab, here you can find 2 things, page and file system. Click on the page. When you click on the page, it will open your application here and select the file that you want to debug. So under the 11.js program, 3 lines are there. I want to debug this program. So debugging means you can stop execution by setting the proper breakpoints. So if I want to stop the execution at line number 1, click on this line, you will get a blue mark like this. This is a breakpoint. Second line, third line. Now I created 3 breakpoints here. So why should I create 3 breakpoints? As of now, it is not required, but I want to show you how to stop and resume. That's why I created 3 breakpoints here. So now just by clicking on the line, you will get a blue mark like this. It is a breakpoint. So after this, now I want to run this program. Okay. When I run this program, you can see the console. Come to the console, you are not getting anything into the console. The reason is, in the sources, you can see the cursor is waiting at the line number 1 and it is waiting for your execution. Okay, it's waiting. So whether to continue or not here, because the breakpoint is there. Until you permit it to execute, it won't do that. So that's why here we have to permit this. So to permit this, you can see these options. See guys, I'm using the updated browser Chrome. So you can see these options. If you do not update the browser, so you please update the browser. So in old versions, you can see the same symbols in a different place. So in the latest browser, you can see the options here. Now you can see this button. It will help you to execute the current line. Let me click on it. Now the first line is executed. Go to the console. You can see statement number 1 is printed. Now the cursor is blinking in the second line and it is waiting for your permission to execute. If I click on this button, then the second line is also executed. Go to the console. You can see first line, second line has executed and third one is still waiting for your permission. Click on it. Now third line is also executed. You can see the result. Once you execute your program, you can remove these breakpoints here in this way. Okay, now the question is, sir, what is this meaningless example and what is the use of debugging in this way? Don't worry, I'm going to take the real world use case. So let A is equal to 10, let B is equal to 20, let sum is equal to A plus B. Okay, and of course, I'm going to print the value sum is and call sum. So once I save this program, go to the console, you can see the result directly. But I want to check this program in debug mode. So let me create the breakpoint at the line number 3. When I set the breakpoint 3, what does it mean? So when I run this application, it can execute line number 1 and line number 2, but it should wait at line number 3 for my permission and for line number 4 also. I created 2 breakpoints here. Then let me save this. So now it has started in the debug mode. Now the line number 1, 2 both are executed. Cursor is blinking here. Now you can keep the cursor on variable A. You can see what is the value currently in the variable A here. We have assigned the 10. Now you can keep cursor on A. You can see the value stored in that A. And keep cursor on B. You can see the value stored in B. Here you can find A is 10, B is 20. Let's keep cursor on sum. So we are not getting any value because the sum will get the sum of these two numbers after this line execution. But currently it is waiting for my permission. So click on this button. Now the statement number 3 executed. Keep the cursor on some variable. You can see the value 30. That means every line you can create such a breakpoint and you can verify what is the current value there itself. Because of this, you will get a lot of understanding in your logic development. But important thing is, once you identify the logic and everything is fine, you should remove the breakpoints. If you forgot to remove the breakpoints, when you run the application, every time it will ask you, it's wait for your permission without completing the code. That's why you should remove the breakpoints after execution completes. So now I am writing a function here. Find sum. So let sum is equal to A plus B, return sum, and I'm calling the function let result is equal to, so that is find sum here. Let me pass 100 and 200. Okay. So now this is my program here. Okay. So when I write this program number 11 here. Yeah, that is completed. Let me save this. Okay. Now this program is ready. I want to set the breakpoints here. So I can set breakpoint line number 2, line number 3, line number 6. Okay. When I run this program, which line will be executed first in this? See here, this program will execute line number 6 first, because up to line number 4 function is there and we know function won't execute by itself. The function will be executed only when someone calls it. So in the line number 6, I call this function. So the first statement executes here is line number 6. And then here I have called the function. So the control will go and execute line number 1 to 4. So now let us see what happened here. Let me refresh the page. You can see the line number 6 is ready to execute, not 2 and 3, because these 2 and 3 are part of the function. They won't execute by themselves until it is called. So in the line number 6, I have called. So it is waiting here for my permission. So once I click on this button, now the control calls this find sum method, and it will print the values of the parameters what it has received. So I have sent 100 and 200. You can see A has received 100, B received 200. Up to now, we are just imagining these parameters has received the arguments. But in the debugging, so you can just inspect the variable by keeping the cursor on it. And not only that, here it will display just besides that what value that A received and B received. Now, when you keep the cursor on sum, it is undefined because it will get the result after executing the statement, but it is waiting in the line number 2. Click on it. Now you can see it is giving sum is 300 here directly. So you don't need to print console dot like every time. You can just verify what value currently it have. Now let me execute the third statement automatically. So the result came here and everything is perfect. So this is the way that you can create your programs and debug your applications with the help of the sources tab here. So from today onwards, every time when you complete one assignment, run that assignment in the debug mode and check how the flow is going on there. Ask me if you have any questions regarding debugging.